I don't know what the internet's general feeling is towards edutainment, but I've got a lot of time for it. Making games for educational purposes to help ease younger players into the medium, or even just using recognisable characters as a way to make education more palatable, is an extremely honourable thing. Edutainment has a very considered and intentional purpose that a lot of games generally don't. It exists for a valid reason, and I think using recognisable characters to entice the audience makes them that little bit more interesting. We certainly wouldn't be talking about this game if it weren't for the presence of Sonic. The Sonic franchise has never shied away from educational software, but this 1991 development by Teartex would have been the very first foray into this genre, had it been released. Sonic's Edusoft is an unreleased Master System title that is basically finished and available to play under emulation. It presents the players with an overworld that can be explored and a selection of different minigames that when completed earn the player a star. Earn enough stars and you open up more of the map to explore. Most of the minigames are simple word puzzles and maths questions. You'll be repeatedly arranging letters to spell a word based on a theme, or adding, subtracting, multiplying or dividing numbers to solve simple questions. This is all clearly aimed at infants and certainly makes for a breezy, relaxed and stress-free time as an adult. You can up the difficulty to give yourself less time to answer, but the questions and puzzles don't really become any more convoluted. What really impresses are the graphics. Honestly, if it wasn't for the sound, you could probably convince people this was a Mega Drive game, because Sonic sprites are clearly based on the Mega Drive games and each scene is full of colour and detail. There's even additional frames of animation to show Sonic moving in different directions, as the game's map is presented in a sort of forced perspective isometric viewing angle. It's honestly loads better than it really needs to be. The main issue with the game is just the lack of variety. You solve the same questions and puzzles over and over again, and while there are some sideshows like this trampoline minigame which don't have an educational element at all, they're so simple that they rarely engage. This is the sort of game that would likely get played once to completion and then never revisited, which is a shame because clearly a lot of effort has been put into the presentation. As Sonic's first excursion into the world of edutainment, this is a perfectly serviceable piece of software that should have been more readily available, what with it being scheduled for release on the wildly popular Master System. While Tales of the Music Maker and Sonic the Hedgehog Gamewell would mark the first officially released Sonic edutainment, these titles came much later in 1994 and needed the proprietary Sega Pico system. Why buy an entirely new system for your educational Sonic fix when you can just use the console you've already got under your TV? But sadly, Sonic's Edusoft was not to be. The ROM can be easily downloaded and played under emulation, but this will forever be remembered as a weird Sonic curio that fans of the franchise might have some limited interest in, but that's it. It's a real shame it never reached its intended audience because despite some obvious simplicity and repetition, the visuals are genuinely one of the most impressive things about it, and it's miraculous it's running on a Master System.